Well, good evening and welcome. Another episode of The Drive, and joined again by my good buddy Corey Thompson. Corey, good to have you back, man.
Hey, we're back again this week, man.
Absolutely, and man, do we have quite the show here. I got to tell you, the rain is falling. If I lose you, you're on your own. So I'm going to enjoy the rain, and later I'll get to enjoy the show. But hey, we do have a power-packed agenda here real quick. Like I said, rain's falling in the south. There is optimism right now as the cattle market continues to soar. Sales season has finally made it here, Corey. Tonight we'll have interviews with Colorado and Kentucky State Fair market steer judges Ryan Rash and Kevin Jensen. And as I said a minute ago, it's good to have you back here. Tell me real quick, how's things going?
Pretty good. Had kind of a roller coaster ride this week. Got done with radiation chemotherapy last Friday. And then this week we've been kind of just working on getting everything healed up in my throat and getting back to eating and drinking and stuff. And we're starting to come back online, man.
Good deal. And yeah, it's good to have you back. And so this episode brought to us by The Drive Marketing, and we started to roll out a little bit of stuff this week from The Drive. There is a testimony from one of our friends there in Iowa that you can find. We're starting to book some sales. I think we shoot 2 or 3 of those this week now that sales season is here. So those of you wondering about how to utilize The Drive Marketing, visit us at the website, thedrivemarketing.com, and we would love to have you on. Visit with Corey and I to, as one of the testimonies say, there's only so much personality that you can do in print media. So we'd love to have you on and promote your sale. They were popular last year, and as you can tell, this year they're starting to fill up again. So, hey, current events. We just talked about you. South Dakota State Fair. You fixing to move in?
Yeah, the open cattle moved in yesterday. We'll start showing them tomorrow and Wednesday. And they picked Supreme in the open show there Wednesday afternoon, and then we go right into the junior show weekend. And looking forward to it.
Right. They just wrapped up Minnesota. I saw on the Pulse. Wyoming wrapped up. Nebraska just wrapped up. Moving to South Dakota. Tulsa, Texas State Fair is not too awful far around the corner. So, as all things, nobody can wait till State Fair season gets here. Now that we're starting to get the backside slide, I don't know about you, man, but I am pumped up. We are getting to sale season.
Oh, yeah. The first September gets here. I don't know if you on my Snapchat, it seems like everyone is somebody breaking and clipping, and they're going to start moving and shaking for sure.
Hey, speaking of moving and shaking, I know we don't have the video, but I can promise you can find it on social media. The Nelson, England video of Jason Minard is high quality social media stuff.
Yep. If you go to Nelson, England Snapchat, Nelson England, I think it's on his Facebook page. Very professional done video. Really highlights Jason Minard. I had no idea his running form and style was so good. I mean, it's quite a deal.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I mean, he was real solid for 1.5 pull-ups. I noticed.
Yeah,
I like that.
Pull-ups weren't exactly textbook, but
no,
boy, his running speed, and he looks like he could be a runner.
Yeah, Nitro's got quite the gait. I really did like that. He said he was only running because he heard that there was a Katie in the sale.
Yes.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's just good stuff. But hey, let's roll into this herd report powered by our friends at CCI.live. We have got these guys are rolling with these purebred sales right now, and those of you that would like to use them, get a hold of Darla at the office, 402-643-8122. The CCI experience is something that's quite unique from a sale management and a promotion standpoint, a viewing and a bidding. Those guys are very elite. They're very professional. Get a hold of the crew at CCI. We're going to start as we said, next week, as sales season really gets rolling, we'll have quite a few reports, we hope. But hey, we do have one this week from Steer Bidder.
Yeah, we got had 2 sales there on Steer Bidder. Jacob Tusa down there at Tusa Show Cattle in Reagan, Texas, had his Southern Select bred female sale. Sells 15 head, gross to 109,750 to average 73.16. And then Dan Sullivan and his crew at Sullivan Ranches in their bred female sale, 9 head, gross 55,250 to average 61.39 on that set.
Yeah, you can't beat it. The bread sales are starting to wind down for the southern guys. The northern crew is starting to fire up pasture sales, and so you're going to get to hear from CCI this year. Innovation Marketing, Graham Black and his crew is going to be reporting in to us. SC Online Sales, we hope. Steer Bidder, as you just saw, and new to the show this year will be Show Cattle Connection. Hey, Corey, they've got a unique part of their platform that they just unveiled. Has something to do with this. It's a buy now feature.
Yeah, they'll just put a price on those lots, and at any given time, you can just buy them for that price that they're asking for them.
Right. Yep. You bet. No, there's all kinds of little trinkets for all of them. They're all high quality. We're not sure going to probably say one's better than another. They're all unique vehicles in themselves. But I just thought that was very unique. In the day of everybody wanting to have an auction and nobody willing to just throw the price down, Todd Caldwell and crew says we're going to put a little buy now sticker on here. You ain't got to set up half the night. So it's good stuff. What are you hearing about the pasture sales coming up?
Well, they're just starting to get, usually about Labor Day weekend here, though, is up in this country. They're, right now they're going through Iowa. A lot of them sales in Iowa starting up this weekend and into next week. So they're, everybody's kind of working down there. It's usually here, the second, third week of September, they'll make their way to South Dakota. But I haven't heard just a lot of chatter about people identifying, the ones in the country that are going to get high and are going to be competitive. But I suspect here in the next few days to come, they'll start to get to be some chatter.
I think what's unique, and I don't care if we're talking about, obviously your talk there was Club Calf driven, maybe. I think what's unique, purebred sale wise, Club Calf sale wise, you just call it sale season.
Yep.
Those guys, and I say those guys who market these cattle that they're purchasing right now later on to a junior. It is so unique that those guys are able to look through literally thousands of cattle. And those guys will all identify, for the most part, those best 20, 30, 40 head every time. And they'll get them down to the elite, those 10. And they'll just fight over them, which is awesome. But I just think it's so cool.
And it don't matter if it's a steer or a heifer. It's just they identify them.
Yeah,
the quality for sure.
Oh yeah, and I don't care what. We're going to have Kevin Jensen on here just a little bit later, and we'll get into some Hereford stuff. I know, but the Hereford guys are the same way. There'll be a umpteen thousand Hereford sales this fall. Those guys as breeders will still be able to find those elite. Genetic pieces all across the country. And so I think it's really cool how that works out. So, but anyway, hey, let's roll right into there. We got a little fast night. Let's get in and talk to two what I feel like are elite evaluators, Corey. When we talk about just straight up talking about placing cattle, talking cattle, we've got two high quality people with us here tonight. And our first one just recently judged the Kentucky State Fair. Ryan Rash. I don't know if Ryan is from Texas. Ryan is from the driver or passenger seat of a vehicle headed to another show. So
I wish I had a driver, but unfortunately it's just me. But yeah, how are y'all?
Hey, we're good. Kevin Jensen's with us tonight. He's actually still trying to get home from the Colorado State Fair. Kevin, good to have you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. You bet. Corey?
You bet. Hey, we'll start with you, Ryan. Tell us a little bit about the atmosphere, the show at Kentucky and kind of, what your experience was down there with that show.
Oh, this was my first time to judge at the Kentucky State Fair, and so really had no, expectations other than seeing, some of the steers and cattle online on the poles, stuff like that had won before. But it was a really, really well run show, and a little different because they did market steers on Wednesday, and then the grand drive wasn't until Thursday. So even though you saw those Wednesday morning, there was a whole day plus, and they came back looking different, of course, Thursday night. But overall, show was really good. There was half a dozen or so more that could have been competitive wherever they were in terms of a state fair. So really, really good show. They have a big grand drive where they pick all the market champions one right after another, and they get those kids in limos, kind of like OYE does and stuff like that, fireworks, whole 9 yards. So they put on a big show, and it was really, really cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Kevin, how about Colorado?
Well, it was Sunday morning, and actually they had a very, very good show. The steers showed Sunday morning or at 8 o'clock, and then they judged goats today, and I think they done the pigs and the sheep the 2 days before that, and their sale is tomorrow night.
See. Kevin, you said that you had told me on the phone earlier that you had judged there at the I better plug my deal in before it goes dead. You guys had you judged there at the Colorado State Fair 15 years ago. Is that right?
Yep. 15 years ago was the only other time I judged steers there.
Okay, gotcha. In terms of quality, obviously we like to think in 15 years' time the quality of a show would increase. What was it like going back there in just talking about quality?
Well, I think the numbers were about the same. So the show size was the same, but the quality has gotten a lot deeper. The classes, the cattle were good all the way through. Now there was some that weren't maybe the elite show cattle on the bottom 2 or 3 placings, but they were good cattle, very functional cattle. So, but the top end got really steamy. 4 or 5 deep that were really nice.
Good deal. Ryan, I saw a social media post of yours this week where you said it's always been a dream of yours to judge on those green chips in Louisville, whether it's at Louisville or it's at that state fair. Talk about the quality there. The pictures of those cattle look absolutely stunning, but what was the depth like there?
Yeah, it was my first time to get to judge Louisville, and I told him, you made a 9-year-old little boy's dream come true past couple of days, and so was really, really cool on a personal level for me. Like I said, there was at least a half a dozen of them, and we did pick a top 5 that those could have ran and played anywhere. They had 4 classes of crossbreds as usual. Almost they all, in terms of the crossbreds, they all ended up in one class, and even the steer that was 4th in that class, there was big silver steer that was really, really good, but there was 3 at the top end, just so close, and you could justify them any way that you wanted to, depending on where you put your emphasis, what you prioritize. But actually, champion steer ended up being a main, and they started out with crossbreds, and then they went through the breed steers in alphabetical order. So that main steer was at the close to the end of the first day, and he kind of came in and hit it, and everybody that was watching online that knew me or whatever, they kind of knew he was the favorite. I think I said some pretty unique things about him, but that calf he just knew he was good. Every time he stopped, he'd rear his head up and look at you, and just calf was so elite in terms of his look and presence, and yet he was still stout, big hip, big bone, and really, really mobile. Just he was the one, and it was cool because again, you think my deal was when we started with the crossbreds, we had that battle in class 3. Yeah, I kind of said, I said, well, maybe we got all the drama out early and just making a joke about it. And then
Right.
had a real good key steer, pair of key steers, but champion key steer ended up being 3rd overall. That was real good. That came in a couple breeds after the crossbreds. I said, so maybe the drama isn't over yet. And then that main calf came in, and yeah, I knew it was going to be quite the lineup. But again, and like I said, they came back different. Tried not to think too much about it from, after you judge them in breed till you see them that night. But main steer came back just like I thought. Champion crossbred actually came back better the next night. He was fuller, a little fresher. And so, because if you would have just had to make me write down in my mind what was going to happen the day before, I probably thought the key would have been reserved. But then when you got him back out there that night, crossbred came back looking really, really good, and finished close to the main, but not close enough.
Yeah.
Hey, that speech that Next Level put up online, it's kind of blown up. I listened to that today. Very, very good job. I mean, obviously you're known for your Grand Drive speeches, but that one to me seemed extra special. Is that because is what that show meant and what those shavings meant to you?
Yeah, I think it was. Again, I went to Louisville first time when I was 9 and never seen anything quite like that. And so always been a dream. And it's been a battle to get there. And it wasn't Louisville, but it was still the Kentucky State Fair. It was still those green chips. And so, yeah, it was very, very special moment for me. And I just, I think the best thing about this program, we all want to win. We all want to be competitive. And that's why we do this. But in the end, it is the things that these kids learn about everything else that will make them successful in the game of life that is the most important. And if they really take what they apply and what they learn here in the show barns and show rings that they grow up in, then they can accomplish anything they want to be. And it's just like my mother told me, I could be anything I want to be if I just wanted bad enough. And so far, I believed her, and so far it's
right. I agree. Kevin, what Ryan was just talking about there, you get to see that slap of that champion. You get to see that expression. There's also a picture floating around social media today of your handshake with the young man there in Colorado that is just, it is so real what emotion was on. I wish I had it and I don't. I'm sorry. You need to find it if you're curious about it. Kevin, you make a lot of miles. You shake a lot of hands. What is that experience like each time for you to get to be the first person to see that on those kids' face?
Well, I've always been one to just shake their hand. I've never been one to put the big whammy on their butt or anything. But this particular time was, and I'd say it's that way for me every time I get to judge a good steer show. I'll get a little tingle, get a little nerve, in you. And it's, it's the highlight. And this particular time, just as I reached out for the young man's hand, he let out a war whoop. And he was wound, and they caught it just as we were grabbing hands. And I had just got back to the motel, and a lady that's really, really good to us in Kansas emailed me and said, "Have you seen this picture?" I said, "No." And so I looked it up, and there was already 1,500 people that had looked at it.
Right.
Well, I don't know how many's looked at it now, but it was, the photographer just caught it just perfect.
Right. Yeah, it was both of those. It was just by chance that we were going to have you two on tonight, and it's two extremely cool pictures. Ryan, the one of you slapping that one with the purple glitter still coming out of your hand, and Kevin, you shaking that young man's hand. He looked like he was 9-10-year-old young man, and I mean just the raw emotion of, holy crap, I just won my state fair. Look, it was great. So
yeah, that is a very neat picture.
Right. Ryan, you hit on something a minute ago I want to just talk about from a judge standpoint. If you said if I had to line these cattle up beforehand, I would have probably lined them up different in my mind. How much of that weighs on you as a judge when you go back to that? We all know when they go back, a lot of them are full, a lot of them had a rest or whatever the case may be. It just changes those things ever so slightly. What is that like on your standpoint? Maybe in your mind, I know what I'm going to do. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, look at this thing now.
Yeah, and I think it depends on situations. Like, I know when Mr. Jensen's Judge Houston, you see one on day one, and then they come back 3 days later, it's going to be a lot different. Because, I mean, not huge different, but cattle change from day to day. And, that situation, I knew going in that the grand drive wasn't until 6:30 the next night. And if someone at the level of cattle that are going to be at that top 5, you think that there's going to be somebody in that group that's listening to whoever the evaluator, what they're saying. And we can't change a lot of things, but you can change some things with a pair of clippers, a feed bucket, a water bucket, stuff like that. And so I always expect that and know that going in to a situation when it's the next day, because you can change one at a show from morning to the evening before the grand drive. I mean, there's just that much talent out there that does it. And so, yeah, I mean, it'd been different if there was one that I thought was completely not in contention that came back. I was like, oh God, did I miss this one or something? So yeah, if that had been the situation, maybe. But I guess I always expect that they're going to change a little bit, and sometimes they change for the better, sometimes they change for the worse. But the way I take it is go out there and see what they look like again. And more times than not, the same one, if like that steer, is probably going to hit you again. But like I said, Grand and Reserve flopped for me. I mean, and that's just truth about it. And I don't have a problem saying that out loud because that's just how it is. But I think you got to go with that moment right then, right there, because that is when they're asking you to select it.
Sure.
I might interrupt just real quick. Can you guys, I don't know if you remember the steer the second time I judged Fort Worth, but he was off, and it took me quite a long time to decide to use him. And honestly, I think he's probably one of the best steers. I think he is the best steer I've ever used to win a show. But he was off.
Was that the yellow steer, Kevin?
Yep. And he wasn't feeling quite right, and you could tell it. And the next day they had him better, and he was not good. But boy, was he a good one. But he didn't look like, you thought he could have, but he was a good son of a gun.
Right. Kevin, is that, I'm glad you told that story. I'd never heard that. We talked a minute ago about being in sale season today and how unique it is that these, I hate to call them traders because they're livestock marketers, however you word it how you want to. I don't want to just call them a trader. Those guys are fixing to go through several thousand head of cattle and identify probably the elite 10 head of show steers in the U.S. today. And they're fixing to do it in the next 30 days. And you, as a seed stock breeder in a Hereford scenario, you're going to look at a lot of Hereford genetics in the next 60 to 90 days, and you'll have an ability to be able to identify the elite there as well. Do you think that your background of seeing a lot of cattle and making decisions cross country to identify elite help you in a scenario like Fort Worth?
Oh, definitely. You know what really helps probably more than anything is growing up and being around Herefords. For some reason, people have a problem just to praise them, especially when they're calves, if you didn't live with them and grow up with them.
Right here.
And 90% of the time, they need to be a little skinny. They just do so much better if you're always on a plateau heading upwards instead of having to hold them. And so you need to evaluate them green. They look and do so much better if they're green right now. But sometimes it's hard for people to see skinny,
Right.
I mean, we're all guilty of that. So.
Yep, you bet. Ryan, I don't want to jump in here, Corey. I mean, I don't want to leave this without being said. I just talked about Kevin's ability to cross the country and remember cattle and do that. You have that. You have one of the most unique abilities to remember cattle, and you remember them from from shows ago and classes ago. And I think it's very unique that you have that ability. You've been in those same situations as well. Do you feel like, I mean, I don't want people to think that you're not a breeder of cattle. I mean, you grew up breeding some of the most elite Simmentals that the business had seen. I don't want to take that away from you, but do you feel like your ability to remember cattle and things like that, does that help you down the road?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's definitely an advantage. It's also, things that you'd like to not remember so much sometimes that it's a little bit of a problem. But yeah, definitely, especially when you're talking about the sale season where they're going to go from place to place to place. Yeah, that's definitely an advantage when you can remember them that clear and little bitty details like that, and then you're seeing another one. Yeah, that's a big advantage. And then so and again. I don't know why I got blessed with it, but I'm very, very grateful for it. But talking about, Kevin talking about Herefords and how that helps him. I think one of the things that helps me in terms of evaluating cattle more than anything is being around slick cattle my whole entire, basically my junior show career, because again, we started out haired, but very early in my show career, we changed slick. And so you have to select them different. You have to feed them different, all these different things. And when you don't have anything to hide and you have to put a set on feed that other than one show, Fort Worth, they're all going to be naked out there in front of everybody. That it gets you back to the basics of structure and muscle and shape and things like that real quick. And not everybody has that situation where 95% of the stuff that they're going to show or select in terms of a market steer is going to be that way. And so I think that right there is something unique to me that helps a great deal as well. Just like Mr. Jensen saying that being in the Hereford deal.
Right.
And really, that slick shear deal has made them cattle better. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, absolutely.
You go to a slick shear show in Texas. I mean, you just had no idea 20 years ago a steer could ever be built like that.
No, yeah.
Well, to interrupt, I get asked that a lot when I judge them. People from up north will say, well, do you have any problem judging them? And, as a young man, I worked for Eddie Sims a lot, and we sheared off thousands of head of cattle. And I think that helped me looking at them. And honestly, I just as soon judge them slick. If you want to get right down to it, I think you do a better job of seeing things.
Right.
You see everything, so especially hawks and things like that.
Yeah, there's no doubt. My favorite time of the year, it's a love-hate I have as being a seed stock breeder myself. It's the one thing I hate is shearing calves in the spring because it is laborsome and your toes pay the price. But it's the one thing that I absolutely love in the evenings is right after that is going through those cattle and identifying what I feel like are the ones that have the right parts and pieces. So to your point, Kevin and Ryan, there is no better way to truly learn to evaluate them than look at them naked, as we say. So,
hey, I got one last question. We always round out with guys here. We like to always ask our guests, 1, 2 people that were mentors of you guys. I've been looking forward to asking this question because number one, I have no idea who you guys are going to say. Normally, I got a general direction. Kevin, age-wise, I just don't know who you're going to say. And Ryan, you've been around so many people that are stars of the industry. I'd say it could be 1 to 20 people. So, just people that drove you guys to where you're at today were kind of mentors of yours and kind of brought you guys along. Kevin, go ahead.
Well, I'd have a scroll of different people that, really looked at, because we weren't actual big breeders or anything, and so a lot of people seen that my brother and I and my family really like doing what we do. And there was countless people in Kansas, surrounding states that, took you under your arm. And, you still see it today when you see young families that want to do it, want to work hard at it, you'll have so much help. So in naming one is kind of bad because I'll get in trouble with the rest. But doing what we're doing and talking about today, Joe Louis would be the one.
Ooh.
And well, even out there at the show, first place I went was in the office. And the last time I was there was a picture of Joe Louis with a really good Polled Hereford bull, probably in the late 60s, probably. He was really a good bull. And I asked him about that picture. And they said they thought they had in the storeroom, and they're going to give it to me if they can find it. But they had alfalfa lawn farms, and Joe judged everywhere, all over the world, and all the steer shows. And his brother was the diplomat of the family that Joe said the reason he didn't drink is because he didn't ride in boxcars. But those guys, you guys are probably too young to have ever got to. You've probably heard a lot of stories about him.
I've just heard stories. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But he was, he was a mentor to a lot of people, especially when it come to judging contests and showing cattle and being in the barn with him and maybe flip him for a $5 bill or something. But then the integrity part, he drove that in hard with most people. He was a super individual.
Awesome. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I think for me, and I've addressed this, we have a question and answer session on our podcast, and I've been asked this a lot, but I think the thing for me is, like Corey alluded to, I was so blessed as a kid to have so many people come in, whether they were full-time at our place or help us at different shows, stuff like that. And not only people that help fit and clip, but also people that we bought from, because we bought from wherever we thought the best one was. We just went and did it. And then on a college level, professors like Skaggs and Edwards. So I think the thing that helped me so much is I was never that kid that I was so focused on everything about it. Whether if I wasn't back at my box, I was at the ring watching. I wasn't out there tossing a football because I wouldn't have been any good at that personally. But I mean, I was literally standing ringside trying to absorb everything I could. And so I think the thing for me, there's not just one, but the fact that I could be around so many different people that were leaders or coming up to be leaders that still are, and take little bits of knowledge from all of them and question them and, talk to them on that level, and then take all of that information and all of that wisdom and knowledge and experience that they have and still form my own opinion and way. I think that's the thing, because I don't know if there is one that stuck out more than ever, but I just so blessed to have been around so many that had so many different opinions, but we're so successful and so wise.
I'll be. Well, that's good, guys. Thank you. Thanks for what you do. Thanks for taking the time today. Kevin, I know we probably held you up 30 minutes from getting home. Maybe got you out of just a few chores.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you could shear off these cows I got in the back of the trailer, you'd be one tough, you know what. You see me bouncing, that's because they're not liking it.
Oh gosh, that's good. Well, no, on a serious note, thank you both. Thanks for taking the time and joining Corey and I on Cattle Drive tonight.
Thank y'all for having me.
Take care, guys.
Go Cat.
You bet. Thank
Go
you.
Cat.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Them
stuff.
Kansas State fans always got to throw that in.
Do what?
Kevin said, "Go Cats." I said, "Them."
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
Them K-State people, they just
I love it.
can't give it up.
I do like that. So, man, that was good stuff. A little insight on how some of those that was cool. Ryan didn't have a problem saying that those champions flip flopped. Yeah. Makes the guy just like you. It's going to make you make sure that champion shows back up there when it all matters.
Oh, yeah.
Not resting on what was said. So.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, hey, segment 6, we're going to wrap this thing up as always with Cattlemen's for Christ. And tonight it's 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. It says, always be joyful, never stop praying. Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong in Christ. So as we've all learned in hard times. Just keep a praying. I saw a deal earlier this week, Corey, that
Yep.
said, just remember this: when things get bad. I wish I had. Well, I got my phone. I'm hooked up on my phone tonight. I can't. When things get bad, the bad times are always small. That a good time will follow. Just got to get through it. So.
Absolutely.
Anyway, man, it was awesome having you back. Heal yourself up even more. Good luck at State Fair, and maybe I think we're going to take a week off. It's a holiday next week, but you will start to see some drives coming your way here this week. So,
Got some good ones coming up too.
oh man, right out of the gate, you talk about coming with a big stick. So,
Yeah.
anyway, hey, thanks and good talking to you, man.
All right. Take care, bud.